Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. We got lots to discuss. A lot of news happening in August, which is strange. Some PTOs, a contract termination, maybe. The Laine trade happened right as we were signing off, so we can go a little bit more into that. But as always, we'll start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
So, a lot of people are reacting to a quote today from a young NBA player, Anthony Edwards. And I'm going to react too, because he was like, well, you know, Michael Jordan is the only skilled player from like the olden days. And it's like, dude, it's nice that, you know, you think the NBA is great and all. That's fantastic. But maybe be a little student of the game and go back and look at Dr. J and just a host of other guys. And
Bird, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know what he's thinking, but clearly he's not a student of the game. Someone like LeBron, who is a student of the game, would never say that. And if I'm this guy's agent, I'm calling him and saying, listen, you need to go and start looking at some video now and then recant what you said, because it's just dumb.
Well, I mean, he would not be the first player in professional sports that is historically ignorant.
No.
You know, it's like, I mean, I remember I can't remember who it was, but I remember somebody like 20 years ago saying, you know, Babe Ruth wouldn't do anything in baseball because he was a big fat white guy. And I'm like, okay, shut your mouth. And so, you know, Ohtani is better than Babe Ruth. I'm like, okay, Babe Ruth would have been a Hall of Fame pitcher.
Yeah.
But he never picked up a bat. Now it's like, you know, like I think it was Oral Hershiser broke the record for consecutive scoreless innings in a World Series. Yeah. And it was some guy named George Herman Ruth that had the record.
1918, yep.
1918, exactly. So, yeah, the Red Sox, it took them a little bit of a time to win a World Series after that. Well,
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I don't remember who they beat in the ALCS.
Oh, you don't remember any of that, huh?
No. It's just my mind is a complete blank.
You don't remember Kurt Schilling. You don't remember a lot of things.
You mean the ketchup?
Not the ketchup, Mike.
The ketchup on his
out west.
Yeah, it had something to do with the sock. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a team. They were out west, Mike. There was a team out west that did something against the Yankees.
Yeah, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start the show. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, August 21st, 2024.
I'm Bill Meltzer.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology and NHLDraftBuzz.com.
Got to remember the NHLDraftBuzz.com.
Yep.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. All right, let's start with where we left off at the end of last show. Russ got booted off just as the Laine deal occurred.
StreamYard gods, but I got back on my phone.
Yeah, yes, he did. I think we had the details of the deal in terms of Jordan Harris going to Columbus for Laine and a second round pick, and it was the second round pick was included essentially to have Montreal take the full $8.7 million cap hit. Bill, I'll start with you because I mean, I looked at this deal and I'm like, okay, it's low risk in the sense that it's only 2 years, and it's low risk because I don't think it ascends Montreal into a playoff competition because they're one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. Now, I think they will score more if he's right. But my first reaction was, I don't know what the reason why he was in the NHLPA player assistance. I was told by a source that it was not an addiction issue. So, but still, there was something that he sat out for almost half the season because of some issue. And Montreal is a high pressure market.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that gives me pause in this situation. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought from a hockey point of view, right? I mean, I get it that if you get the 40-goal version of Laine, there's not a team in the league that couldn't use them, right?
Right.
But I look there and was their number one need really a goal scoring winger, right? I know they need to score more. I thought there are other needs that need to be focused on.
Right.
As you said, there was the cap component of it, which is why the second rounder was included also. I mean, Harrison's a nice player. It was a nice ad, and also the fact that everybody knew Columbus had to trade him, and you weren't going to get full value, so you're going to get a fraction of value. So I think under those circumstances, the Blue Jackets did about as well as they could.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it shakes up the picture in the East to any significant degree. We'll see where it goes in Montreal. I could see for the Habs where it's as you say, it's a relatively low risk thing. If he were to just return to his old form, but it's a number of years already,
right?
But if he return to that form, then fantastic. Then what a fantastic move you made. But but I'm kind of skeptical on it, and everybody knows what his limitations are as a player too.
Yeah, so. Defensively, he's not very good. Russ, he's got a great one-timer. He's a weapon on the power play. He has not played a complete season since, going back to 2019. 68 games in 68 games in 2020 would have been when the league shut down. So that's, but 45 games in 2021. The season was 56 games at that point. 56 games in 2022. 55 games in 2023, and last year 18 games. I know he had an injury, and then it was the player assistance. So, I was told by somebody, and then apparently Aaron Portzline reported this, that there was a meeting, Russ, of the Columbus leadership, Boone Jenner, a couple other players, Werenski, and basically they went to Don Waddell and said, you got to get rid of two guys on the roster. One was Laine, and the other one was Elvis Merzlikins. And I was in the report, it was basically these guys are lazy and they need to go. Easier said than done when you're talking about two of the highest paid players on the team, but what do you think of the deal overall? But then when do you think of the Columbus sort of remake under Don Waddell?
Yeah, so the deal overall, I do think, has some merit because I said in the offseason they needed to do something. Like, if otherwise you're just going to keep putting young players in there and waiting, and the waiting game could take a long time. So the way I would handle it is I'd put him on the third line, and I'd put him on every power play minute I could. He'd be on the top power play because if you can get him scoring on the power play, then his confidence will come back. He lost his confidence. So he could help that power play be very potent, and that could do good things for the Canadians. So That's the first thing. The second thing is it's clear that Boone Jenner runs the Columbus Blue Jackets because he ran Babcock out of town, and now he's running other guys. And I'm not saying it's for the wrong reasons. He's probably doing it for the right reasons. He knows. But I'm just saying, you're talking about a powerful captain. He's one of the more powerful captains in hockey now.
Yeah, that's probably why when I suggested that Boone Jenner could be a trade candidate that the Sabres would look at, a well-known writer sort of giggled on social media at that. And I'm like, okay, I get it. This is an organization where
it's Boone Jenner's team, Mike.
Yeah, Boone Jenner is the president and general manager, apparently. So yeah, now sticking with the Blue Jackets, so we'll just go a little far afield here. They did with the clearing of the salary of Laine, they did sign Cole Sillinger to a 2-year deal at $2.25 million. Russ, he had a good rookie year and then really struggled last year, but there's a lot of talent there.
No, there's talent. They rushed him. He shouldn't have played that rookie year. He's good. He's good on faceoffs. He actually has a pretty good scoring touch. He can play two-way hockey. He could be a 20-goal guy in the league. And last year it was rough for everybody. Like, it wasn't just him. But he went through that sophomore slump. They got him at a good price. Mm-hmm. I would have signed him more long-term just because to have more cost certainty if he does break out, because he could break out. So I think this will be a good year for him. Bill,
what do you think?
I've always liked Sillinger. I like his dad as a player too.
A lot of people.
Every team liked him. Every team wanted him, right? But no, I think Sillinger is gonna play. I almost threw out the whole year for the Columbus team because they were so riddled with injuries, so much drama going on, GM change behind the bench after all that shit's going on, right? So I would almost just give him a mulligan on his season last year. A little bit of stability around him. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's a good player.
Yeah. Just going back to Montreal for a second, it's like for those people who think that Laine is, the cherry on top of the sundae and now they're ready to contend for a playoff spot. You got to remember, like they had one defenseman who had a career year, Matheson, scored 62 points. The rest of their defense, other than David Savard, who's in the walk year of his contract, is very young. Jack-Eye, Gooley, Lane Hudson. Now they've traded Harris, but, Struble. They don't have a lot of experience on the blue line. And in goal, Montembeault is a decent goaltender, and I think Caden Primo's got a lot of talent, but you have to have a team that plays well defensively in front of them to accentuate their positives. And that's a team, they only scored 236 goals last year. So right now, I think, they're at least a year away, Russ.
Yeah.
At least a year, maybe two.
Yeah, they're in a similar defensive spot that the Devils were in last year, and obviously not as good a team, but certainly a lot of good parts. Look, they have toughness on their defense, and they do have good skating guys and guys with good legs and young legs. And so that could help you at least get pretty far in this league. So they should be much improved. They just won't be a playoff team. But, yeah, I think, they really need to find out this year what Primo is, because I like him, but I don't know if he's a backup or a 1A, and they need to find that out this year. If they figure that out this year, then that could go a long way, because Fowler's still probably a year or two off, probably two.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat was saying they needed a center instead of a winger. Okay, there wasn't a center out there,
no,
guys.
That's the thing, right? Nobody's been trading centers of any consequence.
So, it's like, Suzuki probably on a good team would be a better fit as a 2, but he's a 1. And right now their number 2 is probably at center is probably Kirby Dach. So, and Kirby Dach, when he can stay healthy, is good. Problem is he can't stay healthy. So that's the situation. A couple other things, little bookkeeping here. So in the aftermath of the offer sheets not being matched by the Oilers, there was then a trade after the fact. A prospect, Paul Fisher, don't know much about him, traded from the Blues to Edmonton for a 3rd-round pick in 2028. Russ, I don't know. Do you know anything about Paul?
Yeah, he's with the NTDP. I covered him. He's a pretty good defenseman. He's a good skater. He's more defense than offense. There's no offense there, but he can play. He's got a guy that could play in the NHL. They at least got somebody who in a couple years could be there. And so at least that's something. That was for their troubles, basically, for losing their players and getting outfoxed and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I think he was a decent pickup. And I do think, he could be a bottom pairing guy.
Yeah. The other thing regarding that situation between St. Louis and Edmonton, it had been rumored when the offer sheet was made that Doug Armstrong did this because he was buds with Ken Holland, and that maybe that there was some motivation there since Ken Holland wasn't there, that this was a little bit of comeuppance or maybe a little thing against Stan Bowman because they used to be rivals in the Central Division. And Armstrong addressed this apparently and said, this is a tool, meaning offer sheets, that I think everyone uses and should use. I think it was reported that I wouldn't have done this to Kenny Holland. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Quite honestly, I'd do it to my mother if she was managing the Oilers. I find hard to believe that. Now, the one thing,
you find it hard to believe that his mother would be running the Oilers? Is that
no? That he would do it to his mother or Ken Holland. But Bill, the thing is, I saw the statistic. There have been 44 offer sheets signed. I think since the 2004-2005 lockout, maybe even going back further. The St. Louis Blues have been involved in 11 of the 44. So this seems to be like something organizationally that they have done. But like as a writer, I'd love more offer sheets. It makes for good copy.
Yeah, and there's always it's always during the countdown period too, right? Okay, well, what's involved in matching it, and you always look at on these two offer sheets again, the two of them are $1 higher,
Yeah.
it would
It matters for the
compensation up, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what's the strategy behind the particular offer? How much of a poison pill is it to match?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the bigger picture perspective on? Because the truth of the matter is, in the history of offer sheets, there haven't been a ton where you say they did great with that one, right?
That's true.
It really hasn't. The only one I think the only one that I might have ever worked out had been denied was the one to Kessel a number of years ago, but that was too low. And that was an easy decision for Vancouver to match that. But that would have been one that really would have paid off had it been refused. But for the most part, you're overpaying. Broberg is an overpay for clearly. And it's a relatively short-term deal, but it's an overpay.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm kind of leery about them for that reason. In terms of pissing off another GM, and I don't know how much of a real thing it is anymore. I know in the past it was. I know that the Shea Weber offer sheet, Paul Holmgren really could make any other deals after that. Other GMs would not talk to him.
That's true.
And he'd been really tight, with Poyle at the time, and David. I mean, I guess eventually they made up enough to communicate again, but never really friends again after that because you screwed me here.
Right. And Brian Burke wanted to beat the crap out of whoever the Edmonton GM was over the Dustin Penner.
Does it really take much to get Brian not fired up? I mean, let's be real.
No. But the funny thing is, it's like Burke. I somehow wish that. Well, no, actually, okay. Burke was threatening to offer sheet Phil Kessel before he made the Phil Kessel deal. And the offer sheet for the salary that he was going to offer, the compensation would have included a third-round pick on top of the 2 firsts and the second. So he saved himself a third. Here's a suggestion. Of course, I said this not in retrospect because hindsight is 2020. I said this before the deal was done that was absolute it was stupidity for a team to do it at that point.
Yeah.
In their rebuild, you gave up what turned out to be Tyler Seguin and Dougie Hamilton for Phil Kessel.
Yeah,
good one. Okay, some other news. The Seattle Kraken, Russ, and I suggested this a few weeks ago that some of these teams should sign these players and entering the final year of their ELC to extensions. I think Beniers had one, unless he
at least one more, maybe 2.
I know he burned the first year of ELC when he came out of Michigan, but I think he still had a year on the left.
Yeah, then he had a year left. Yeah.
Right, but he signed a 7-year deal for $50 million, which I believe is the same deal that Tage Thompson signed with Buffalo a few years ago. Beniers won the Calder in 2023. Last year had an off year, sophomore jinx, but I think we know what type of player he is.
No, they had to. He's their franchise guy. Like, it doesn't matter that he had an off year. What they're doing is they're smart. They're building center depth. Now they have 3 young centers, really talented. They'll all be up there someday.
And Chandler Stevenson as a veteran.
Yeah, but I don't know if Stevenson will be there when Shane Wright and Berkeley Catton are there. But I'm just saying, eventually, that's what they're looking at. They're looking at 3 really smart,
right,
at times dynamic players, especially with Catton and Beniers. So I like what they've done, and I think that was a no-brainer, and I think they got him at a great price.
Yeah, so he burned the first year of his ELC at the end of the 22 season. And then the next 2 years were the final 2 years. So he was an RFA. So it's starting right out.
Yep.
This is year 1 of a 7-year deal. So, I mean, Bill, to me, it's proactive. It's smart. If you have the confidence in a guy who was top. I think he was a second overall pick. Once you get a chance to lock him up, you lock him up.
Yeah, and you know, every once in a while, someone tears an ACL or whatever the case might be, that you go, should have waited. But you're never going to have that hindsight. To me, you be proactive on it, and there's a cost certainty, and you plan your cap around it, and you believed enough in the player to pick him where you did, right? I think that you sign him proactively to an extension. And it might have to be a bridge deal, but whatever it is, I mean, the player's going to make out better than he would, before he has any kind of any kind of arbitration right. So it kind of can work out on both sides. I absolutely think you do it, no question.
In PTO news, Russ, there were 3 over the last few days: Kailer Yamamoto and Blake Wheeler by the Boston Bruins, and Tanner Pearson by Vegas. Yamamoto, I think, is a good swing.
Yeah, it's a good gamble.
Yeah, he's 25 years old. I mean, he's small, but I think the Bruins wouldn't take a stab on him if they didn't think there was something there. The Wheeler one, I know people are questioning. I think it's the fact that he just wants to, he started his pro career with Boston. I think he probably would have signed with the Rangers had the Rangers been interested, but I don't think they were. And now he's going back to Boston, and maybe he fills the James Van Riemsdyk role with the Bruins.
I don't think he can do that. The foot speed's not there. I just think they did bring him back just in case, but the foot speed's not there. I don't expect him to make the team. Yamamoto will be interesting. He could sort of play like the Ryan Donato role that they had for him back in the day, where they have him on the ice to score and they don't put him out there for much else. And if you get some offense out of him, great. And so, yeah, I liked it. I thought, I got the Wheeler one, but I don't think Wheeler has it. But I got the Yamamoto one for sure.
And Bill, the Tanner Pearson one with Vegas. I mean, we know Pearson had a chronic injury with Montreal that limited his ice time. The hand. And I'm surprised. It doesn't cost you anything to take a look.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I would have been surprised had he gotten a 1-year deal or whatever. PTO is nothing. You take a look at him, see where he's at, because if he's right, he'll help you. But I don't know. I'm not terribly optimistic here.
No. There was some coaching news for the USA Hockey. I know that you joked about it.
I did.
I don't think that Austin Matthews will be blocking shots because Torts is one of the coaches for
that's a text I got from a friend.
Yes.
Look, I covered the Rangers when Sullivan was the assistant to Torts, and now it's flipped. Now Torts is the assistant to Sullivan. I think it's funny. This is a big test for Mike Sullivan, though, because if he does well in this, then his next job will be guaranteed. If he doesn't do well in this, whenever Pittsburgh moves on from him, people are going to wonder, can he coach without Sidney Crosby? It's a legit question that's going to cross people's minds.
Russ, there's going to be so much talent on Team USA. I don't think it's going to be an issue.
It still matters, Mike. It does.
But first of all, they have not named, unless I have missed it, they have not named the head coach for 2026 in Milano and Cortina. So if he wins this, or if he does well this, then he probably gets that job too. Wouldn't you say?
Maybe. Good chance. But again, just to say how things can be, Thatcher Demko's struggling right now. I think he's rehabbing at this point. He had surgery.
Mm-hmm.
What if he's lost a little off his fastball? Now that list of goalies that you said were 100 times better than Team Canada gets whittled away. Things can happen. We don't know.
It's only 80 times better.
Listen, I mean,
Wayman, Demko,
Mike, I've seen teams go into tournaments, especially on the junior level, but at most levels, and you say, wow, look at the talent on that team, and it just doesn't come together. So I think Sullivan still has something to prove on that.
Okay. Any thoughts on the USA Hockey coaching staff there, Bill?
Well, yeah, John Turros, he says the assistant coach. It's been a long time since he's done that. It was either in Buffalo or Phoenix years ago that he was an assistant.
He was Buffalo assistant coach under
under Muckler, I think, right?
Under Muckler. Yes.
John
So-
Mucker, who eventually became a Ranger coach, I covered
Yeah.
when he was there, and boy, he was past it, man.
Well, people, I wasn't around. I wasn't around there at the time, so I don't know. People have sworn up and down that when he was an assistant earlier, he was the players coach guy, right? It's like,
That's funny.
okay, well, all right, but he knows the role.
He does.
He certainly knows Sullivan. Sullivan's his protege. They're tight as can be. They talk several times a week. So,
Yep.
That it surprises me not at all that after Sullivan's been Tortorella's assistant, and now that Tortorella's in the process, he's an older coach. Don't know how much longer he'll be coaching in the NHL.
And Hines is the other coach, right?
Yeah.
That's
I'm
a
sorry,
good
was that?
staff. Is it John Hines is the other coach, right?
No, Quinn.
Oh, it's David Quinn. That's right. Who's again? He knows those guys. That's right. It's David Quinn.
Yeah. And if if it's not Sullivan 2 years, Quinn is a guy who might be tabbed for, because guys obviously Tortorella and Laviolette's been doing this a long time now, so he's I think that those two guys are your possible candidates to do it next time around.
Yeah. Now, Russ, I did see the David Pagnotta tweet. I haven't seen it confirmed anywhere else regarding the draft for 2025. The speculation is Los Angeles, but there has not been any kind of clarification from the league or from any other source that it's going to be well, is it going to be the decentralized draft, or is it not going to be the decentralized?
No, it seems like it's going to be. But again, like Adam Moda tweeted, he spoke to GMs that want to still do it the old way. I think there's a lot that want to do it the old way, but the ones that didn't want to seem to have won this argument. But look, LA is a decent place for the draft. I was at the last one. I'm trying to look up the year that it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, it was fun. It was the interesting part about that trip was when there was a couple days before the draft, we went to the awards in Vegas and just drove through the desert back to the draft in LA.
Right.
If they did it that way again, that would be fun, because it's an interesting ride. Like, if you've never done that ride, do it, because it's like going through the old West, and there's not that many stops. There's like a couple of gas stations and
a couple cafes,
and occasional, casino. But
make sure you have air conditioning.
It was a decent draft, though. It was. And so, I'd be okay with it again. Late
June in Death Valley. There you go. I mean, let's just say this. I hope that it's not decentralized, because I would like to go to LA. I've always wanted to visit the cemetery where like Frank Sinatra and all the Natalie Wood and all the movie stars are. I think it's Westwood Cemetery. I'd like to go there, and hopefully there won't be an earthquake. But we'll see. I mean, but LA would be I thought it was going to be Seattle. I mean, I thought that they were.
I thought so too.
Yeah, but we'll see probably in the next couple weeks or a month or so. Whether
I don't think it'll be much longer. That's why I think the leak happened, and I don't know if that's going to be right.
Yeah,
but I think that just tells you that it's kind of like getting close to at least having to make a decision.
Right. The big news yesterday was the news that came out of the Philadelphia Flyers, where they announced the termination, at least they hope, of center Ryan Johansson, the final year of his contract. Now, I believe he had he was 50% retained from. Well, no, but okay, he was
from previously.
Yes,
previously,
yes.
Yeah,
He was an $8 million cap hit. Yeah. Then he was traded from Nashville to Colorado.
Right.
His cap hit was $4 million, and then he was included in the Sean Walker deal last year, which I think was a first-round pick, and part of that was to pay them for taking Johansson.
Yeah.
So he didn't play a game for the Flyers, and now according to the reports, his contract has been terminated, but he has 60 days to grieve it with the NHL Players Association, and Kurt Overhart, his agent, came out almost immediately, Bill, and said, hell yeah, we're friggin' grieving this.
Yeah, and obviously the PA is backing him up.
Right.
And all of that is completely expected.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I give it just a little bit of a backdrop here. For the Flyers, the Flyers are terminating him for what they're calling a material breach of contract.
Right.
So what a material breach means in English, it's the same thing as like being fired for cause by an employer. So you have a reason that's serious, legitimate, and you can prove.
Right.
That's basically what the Flyers are. We can prove it.
Right.
That he's at best exaggerating the degree and didn't rehab in good faith.
Right.
When he was with Colorado last year, he didn't miss any games. As a matter of fact, he played the day before the trade and didn't miss any shifts. The Flyers immediately, upon acquiring him, put him on waivers for purposes of sending him to the AHL team, to the Phantoms, because they didn't want him. They had to take the contract to get the first round pick for Walker. So it was a prerequisite to do it. As soon as he gets sent to Lehigh Valley, he said, well, I'm injured. I have a bad hip. I can't report. You can't send down an injured player. So the Flyers had the team doctors look at him. And they said, there's an injury. Yeah, he does have a hip issue. So basically, they were saying, well, it's something doesn't necessarily need surgery. He could rehab it. How long he'd be rehabbing was very unclear. But he never played a game in Lehigh Valley. Never played a game for the Flyers. I think it was known all along. As long as he's cleared to play, he was going to get bought out. That was.
There's a lot, Russ. There are a lot of similarities between this situation with the Flyers and the Jared Cowan situation between Ottawa and Toronto, where Cowan was traded from Ottawa to Toronto. Toronto basically shut him down at the very moment that they acquired him and said, "You're not playing for us. We are going to buy you out at the end of the year because we actually there's like a negative cap hit here. Like we actually get a credit." And then now this is different from Johansson.
And this is what makes it a lot different is what you're going to say now.
Right. He during the summer had an elective surgery. He said that it was a shoulder issue and he needed to get it taken care of. And that prevented him from being bought out. And the Leafs won the appeal that Lou did with it because they said, no, we have to approve that you can have the surgery. Now, in this instance, I'm surprised, Bill, from the very beginning, if he was an injured player and he was traded and they confirmed that he was injured, that they didn't. Now, they wanted the first round pick. I understand that, but that they didn't say, okay, you gave us an injured guy and we want to buy this guy out, but we can't buy him out if he's injured. So sorry, you're giving us an injured guy. Either give us somebody else or the deal is off.
Yeah, I think the Flyers already suspected they might have to head this route. But I think that they decide to bide their time a little bit. And I mean, this part is just such an elephant in the room. I don't think you can just totally blow past it and not mention it at all. That Johansson has a big wedding party last Saturday. Pictures get on video gets on Instagram. He's dancing, he's partying, blah 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 blah. There's wedding photos that they post on their website, and he's sitting on a big pile of rocks. He's lifting his wife up in the air. Right, and but 3 days later he's terminated. Right,
she's
but it's a hip injury, and he's been rehabbing it. I understand where fans go with that. I would not jump to that conclusion.
Neither do I. But the timing is very.
I know, but
right?
That's
just circumstantial evidence.
Right.
But I think that whatever other things they're going to present, and they're going to have to present evidence that he was not rehabbing in good faith,
right?
Sharing certain that's burden. That burden's going to be on the Flyers. That
They
burden's not
have
going to
to
be on the Johansson camp.
Yeah.
But I do think that this coming to light, figuring the timing of it is awfully interesting, right? And I do think that okay, we're pulling the trigger and we're just done with this. So if it goes through being adjudicated and they rule in Johansson's favor, well, you're on the hook for the salary cap hit, and if not, he's off the book. So it's almost just do it and try it and see how it works out.
Nice
I would think there's some evidence here,
and I'm sure Nashville is an interested party here because they would clear $4 million off of their cap.
Right, they're the ones who could really really gain on this. The Flyers want it because they probably want flexibility at the deadline, for one case or another, and if they don't get that money off the books, it doesn't help that.
Yeah, this is the statement from Kurt Overhart. Ryan Johansson has a severe hockey injury that requires extensive surgery, which has been scheduled. Since being traded to the Flyers, Ryan has worked in good faith with the club, its medical staff, and authorized third-party physicians. The Flyers' attempt to terminate Ryan's contract is disappointing. We have been in contact with the NHLPA and will defend Ryan and protect his rights. So it's all going to be a determination of what is good faith, what is a material breach. I mean, if he's like, I'm not going to do physical therapy on my hip, and then he said, oh, my hip hurts. Okay, well, I mean, they're going to have to spell that out, point A, B, C, D, and that could go into. I mean, okay. I know they want to compete for a playoff spot. $4 million is $4 million. That's a good player. That's a good player or two.
Yeah, you can bank that space, right, and be under the cap, and then all of a sudden you get close to the deadline, and that $4 million becomes a real asset. Or if again you have to weaponize some of it on an expiring contract or something, right? Get additional assets. The Flyers already have 6 picks in the first and second round, possibly in the top 50 in this coming draft. So that's a lot of ways to weaponize that, and certainly having that space is more valuable than if you're saddled with Ryan Johansson.
It's not an open shut case. It's going to drag on a little while.
Well,
it will.
I mean, right now, they have Ryan Ellis on LTIR. Cal Peterson is buried contract, but so a little over, I think it's a little under $4 million is they're taking a cap hit on that. We're expecting Ristolainen will be healthy starting training camp, but he was on LTIR. So it's not like a Toronto situation where they had so many players on LTIR that they really they had no flexibility whatsoever. If they're ruled against in this situation, they can put them on LTIR, and they would.
If they need to do that too. Just also just in terms of dead space, they have Cam Atkinson for this year and next too,
and Kevin Hayes, the retained salary.
So what's funny is I'm working on a book, 50 greatest goal scorers in NHL history. It's going to have some Olympic guys in it. No, but Ryan Ellis. The name Ryan Ellis comes up, and the 2020 Winter Classic plays a little role in this book, and Ryan Ellis got destroyed. I had to watch that video again by Corey Perry, who got ejected like 36 seconds into the Winter Classic, which has never happened. And of course, Corey Perry, right? So it's like, Ryan Ellis, probably not that long after that, his career started to go down too, and it's a shame. Yeah, because I thought he would be good, but just didn't work out.
He was until he wasn't.
Yeah.
So. All right, good show, guys. We will not have a show on Friday. I have a concert to go to.
What's the concert, Mike?
I will tell you off the air.
Why? Right? Just say it.
No, it's none of. It's sorry. What's that?
It has to be Justin Bieber. Has to be.
I've never heard a Justin Bieber song, let alone would attend his concert.
Trust me, if the Leafs ever win the cup, you will hear a whole concert of him with the Leafs jersey on and everything at the Stanley Cup.
Those construction earplugs. I'll be buying those if that's the case. But for Russ Cohen, for Bill Meltzer, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.